everybody. It's Friday night. The weekend's finally here. It's been a long week. The week before Christmas is always seems to be very long to me as we're prepping to have a holiday week. Things are slowing down, not so much going on at work, so it's slow and quiet, which makes the days seem longer. But this week is finally over, and we have Christmas week to look forward to coming up, so we're all pretty excited about that. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is football. Football, yes. Season's rapidly coming to an end here in the middle of December. The regular season for college football is over. Did win the SEC championship, as I believe I've mentioned, and are going to the Cotton Bowl to play Michigan State on New Year's Eve, so we're excited for that. And the Heisman Trophy was awarded to Derrick Henry, the running back for Alabama, who's such a beast. Now, I have a little bit of a rant here I need to put out regarding the Heisman nominations. Navy had one of its best seasons in recent history, mainly because of the quarterback that they have, who has set countless NCAA records on offense and was a Heisman hopeful throughout the process. Now, when the nominees for the Heisman, the people that got the invite to go up there to be in the honored company of their peers, went out, it was very much hoped that they would at least extend an invitation to Keenan Reynolds, who is the quarterback for Navy, just as an honor for what he has achieved at the school he is at. Now, being an athlete at one of the military academies and being of national prominence is very rare these days. These kids are all amazing students. They have no expectations to become professional athletes when they are done with school. As a matter of fact, they're all going to go and put their lives on the line for you and me. And the fact that this kid did everything he did with no expectations, and when the actual announcement came out, the nominees for the Heisman came out, his teammates and coaches all clustered around the TV to watch this. He didn't get to watch it himself. He was standing watch. He was doing his duty. And come to find out, he did not even get invited. Now, nobody expected him to win. The competition was very stiff. But based on who he is, what he's done, he should have at least got an invitation to go up there and be honored for his service and what he has done and what he is going to do. It would have said volumes about the process. Unfortunately, he was snubbed, and I will tell you, not really pleased with the folks up there about this, and neither are many people that are around here. So now, in the end, Derrick Henry, my guy, did win. I was happy about that, but I will say, for me, this trophy this year will always be a little tarnished because of what happened to Keenan Reynolds. So there you go. My Jaguars have come on really strong here towards the end of the year, even putting up 51 points on the Indianapolis Colts this last weekend. It was amazing. And they are not statistically eliminated from actually winning the AFC South, which is a very weak conference this year. But if the right chips fall into place, they could actually win the conference and go to the playoffs. That would be a shock, but it would be cool. I can tell you right now, the Jags are an up-and-coming team. In the next year to two, they're going to become a powerhouse. If they can get that defense settled in, they're going to be extremely good. So I think there was one analyst I heard talking about Blake Bortles as being one of the great quarterbacks taken in the last several years in the draft. So he's truly going to be a potent weapon, and I believe they're getting their act together, and they're going to be something special to look forward to here soon. All right, on to our main topic tonight. Now, this is something that's very exciting to me. It's something I've kind of kept an eye on, no pun intended, and you'll understand why. Over the last couple of decades, I would say, it pops up in the news every now and then, but it's one of the holy grails of physics, and that is the accomplishment of a sustainable nuclear fusion reaction in order to produce power, electricity, a renewable resource that is cheap and clean. And I believe within the last week or so, on December 10th, to be precise, we took a step in that direction. I'm pretty excited about it. So we're gonna have a little discussion about that here. So, as I was preparing this segment, I thought about a few questions I would ask myself if I didn't really know much about it, which I really don't. But there were questions I wanted to define before I really got into the meat of what just occurred. First of all, what exactly is a fusion reaction? Well, what a fusion reaction is actually what happens in the middle or the core of a star. It's always going on. It's basically the process where two lighter molecules of an element combine to create a heavier element, and yet expend a lot of energy when that happens. And so with this fusion of atoms comes a new element and energy. So it's pretty amazing. Now the problem is it's even to set it up to test is unbelievably expensive, and being able to control it is another thing. I mean, what you're seeing with atomic bombs is basically an uncontrolled nuclear fusion. So you need to be able to control that power. It's quite a lot of energy being released there, and so building the infrastructure to contain something like that, and then to bend it to your will, it has been quite a process. So at the center of the sun or any star, you have massive pressure and massive heat. Can heat be massive? Extreme heat, which combined turn gases into matter. Now, matter we have usually, we talk about the three states: gas, liquid, solid. But there's a fourth state of matter, which is called plasma. And the extreme heat and the extreme pressure actually create this plasmic state for the gases. And it was actually this plasma that they're trying to create in their containment unit, and then control that plasma. So on the 10th of December, just a little over a week ago, as you're watching this video, there was a containment unit that was built in Greifswald, Germany, by the folks at the Max Planck Institute for Plasma Physics. So the device is called the Wendelstein 7X fusion device. Now this type of device is called a stellarator fusion device, which I would suspect means it's stellar, star, which it's simulating the properties of a star and creating this plasma. Now, building this device took 9 years, well over 1 million man-hours, and just preparing for the tests a week ago took them a year, just getting ready to test this out. Now, the way this device works is it's basically a circular type containment area, but it's not really a circle or an oval. It's more of a toroid shape, helical properties. Now you'll see it's also wrapped in coil type structure, and that is because what they have to do is they have to create a magnetic field around this thing that will create a magnetic channel inside the toroid shape, so the plasma can free float inside the containment unit without touching any of the walls, because it's going to be extremely hot and the walls are super cooled, so you can't really have them touch. So the magnetic field actually keeps the plasma in a free floating state within the structure. Now, the magnetic field is created by 30 non-planar and 20 planar superconducting magnetic fields. Now, when you're talking about superconducting, typically you have to bring materials pretty close down to absolute zero in order to have superconducting occur. What that means is it basically takes the materials and drops them to a state where they have almost zero resistance to the electricity being fed through it. So therefore, zero resistance, you end up with infinite current and a high level of magnetism. Now, of course, they control the level of that through instrumentation based means, but you can get up to infinite current running through this thing without any loss. And that's part of what's so important about these designs of these containment units, because what you're really trying to do is develop a system that can contain this fusion created plasma at these high levels of temperature. Yeah, so you can heat water and steam to spin these turbines. Now, what you're trying to end up producing is unlimited amounts of electricity at a very low cost. Now, to be commercially viable, of course, the system has to produce more energy than it costs to make. And so as these turbines spin, of course, they're producing massive amounts of electricity, which can be shipped out for sale. There's so many implications socially, politically, economically for this technology. It has the potential to be world-changing in a positive way in so many ways. Now, I'm going to rattle off a few things here about the opportunities that this technology creates for us. And, I'm not an investor, and if anybody or who knows me will attest to, I am pretty much a cynic and a skeptic. So as I read these things off, I need you to understand how serious and reality-based these potential world-changing things could be. So I'm not overstating the possibilities of this technology for changing the world. Things like, first of all, the material. One part of the material for creating the plasma stream comes from seawater. I think there's a lot of seawater that can be reutilized. Now, in that process, you can also desalinate the seawater you're using. So you have a multi-purpose plant now. And what you now have done is create a processing plant for creating the raw material for running the power plant. And as a side effect, you've come up with fresh water for people. Now, I think at the moment, water is not a critical resource, but I think it will become one. And I do think that there are some aspects in certain parts of the world that are causing a lot of poverty and a lot of human suffering because of lack of water. You have a lot of hunger in the world because there are areas of the world that cannot be planted in because there's no water to water the crops with. So I think there's potential to turn vast areas of desert into viable food providing regions. Now, so we've just created a lot of jobs in this desalination and plant that's creating the resources. Now we take the resources over to the power plant. We're creating very clean, limitless, low-cost energy. And what we've just done is eliminated the need for fossil fuels. So now we've eliminated the need for oil, for coal. Now this will put a lot of people out of work, but that's revolutionary technologies throughout history have done that. People respond and find new lines of work. But when nobody's going hungry, when everybody's got electricity, it makes not working a little more simple, I suppose. Electricity will become so cheap they won't even bother billing us anymore. Of course they will, because they need to make some money. But metering it's really of no purpose. They'll probably charge you a flat rate, whatever, in order to cover their margins. But the metering of electricity becomes, it's so minuscule per unit that it's costing them, that they're charging you for, that they won't bother metering anymore. But that's very micro scale. Let's go back to the macro scale on this. All right, so with the elimination of the need for fossil fuels, what we now have is a cleaner burning or a cleaner energy solution. We now start eliminating the pollution that is just being pumped into our atmosphere. And typically these are in the pre-industrial or barely industrial countries, and I would include China amongst those. If you look on any given day around in Beijing, the place is shrouded in smog. It's people are just choking to death in that city, and so that kind of stuff will cease to exist, because the electricity will be coming from plants that do not produce any kind of harmful output. This kind of power will provide a huge boost to our space industry and space exploration, because when you can put a fusion reactor on a ship in space, the amount of power it can produce can run an engine that can vastly improve the speed of the ships, and can get us around much quicker. We, instead of taking almost 2/3 of a year to get to Mars, we can take a month. It's one of those things that can absolutely change the course of human history in that regard. So let's look at the pros and cons we have in this technology. First of all, clean energy, virtually no greenhouse gases, provides unlimited power very cheaply. This is one of the cornerstones of economic and social development, is the cost of energy. While this reaction is going on, there's no chain reaction like is what is used in current nuclear facilities. So you don't have the issues of potential meltdowns like you do with the nuclear power plants we have now, with the Fisher type plants. There's no reaction per se going on that takes a long time to start up or shut down. So literally you can shut it down and it's down, and then there's no biohazards coming off the thing. So, and there's very little nuclear waste coming off of it. I think at the core there might be a little bit of radioactive material, but it's stuff that takes like 100 years to deplete. So it's not like the stuff we're putting in the ground now that takes, we'll probably never truly clean up. But these are just time bombs we're putting in the ground for you, my descendants. I apologize for that. But we're working very diligently to try to improve this. So, all right, now some of the cons of this technology. Well, first of all, right now it's really unproven. It's all theory. It's all pie in the sky. Even though the technology is being proven to function as it's supposed to in theory, but it has not actually been put in place. In addition to that, it's extremely expensive to start up. So it's only going to be the really developed countries that are going to be able to put this in place. And it takes years to get one of these things in place. There are estimates right now saying it's going to be 2050 before there's even the consideration of a viable provided by this. I'll probably be gone by then. My son and daughter will probably be my age, so hopefully you'll live to see this. And my grandchildren, I hope this changes your lives. I hope this changes the world for you. We'll certainly find out, but it's definitely something I'm hoping is going to save this planet for us. I truly think it's that kind of a revolutionary technology that it's going to save us in the long run. And one other con, and I don't necessarily understand it or agree with it, but I read it somewhere, is that we'd produce so much energy that we would just be wasteful of it and just use it frivolously and overuse it and whatever. And I'm like, so what? It's free. It's cheap. You know, what's it hurting? So maybe I'm being a little narrow-minded here, but I don't see any really downside for that personally. So, all right. So what exactly occurred on the 10th of December that got us all so excited? Well, basically they were able to create helium plasma in the machine for 1/10 of a second at 1,000,000 degrees. That may not seem like much, but it's a starting point. You know, the Wright brothers' first flight was only for a few seconds and not very high. And it, you know, the idea of flight has changed the world, and it did so in their lifetimes. So, you know, I'm hoping that it does so in these scientists' lifetimes as well, because they've spent many, many years researching and working on this, and I would like to, hopefully, for their sakes, as a thank you to them, have them see the end result of their work. Too many times, though, with this kind of research taking decades to do, you know, people don't necessarily get to see the fruits of their labor. And so with that all being said, here's to looking forward to free and plentiful energy for the world, and so many good things to come. I hope it happens. Just wanted to share this event with you because I think it's more monumental than the media is making it out to be, and I think, I think the life-changing, the world-changing possibilities are staggering and very exciting. So there you go. That's my little bit of information for Friday. I hope everybody has a great weekend. What do I have going on? Oh yes, I have tickets to see Star Wars Saturday night at one of the big screens up in Arundel Mills. Is it Arundel Mills? Yeah, Arundel Mills. Cinemark Theater up there. So we're going to go up there and see the brand new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. So we're pretty excited about that. What else we got going on? I'm actually going to spend a lot of time cleaning house because the last 2 weeks being sick, I've let a few things go. I may just spend a whole day just cleaning my room and things like that. So, but you know, it's hey, I'm living the dream, right? Anyway, y'all have a great weekend, and I guess we'll see you back here on Monday. Ta-ta.